Hola, molt bon dia a tothom. Gràcies per ser aquí. Avui presentem Le Sommet, que és el darrer espectacle del Christophe Martaler. Christophe Martaler és un dels grans directors que han marcat el teatre de finals del segle XX i principis del segle XXI. És un vell conegut del festival. La primera vegada que va estar aquí va ser amb Metterling, el 2007. Després va venir Plats Mangel, Els viatges de Lina Begley, King Size, Aucune idea, que va ser la última vegada, el 2021, també amb el Graham Valentine, que tenim avui present a la roda de premsa. És un director amb un llenguatge molt propi, jo diria que surrealista. És un director on hi ha una part de públic que en connecta molt i una altra que potser no hi connecta tant. Té aquest llenguatge surrealista amb un llenguatge musical també sempre lligat en els espectacles i que en moltes ocasions, i aquesta és una d'elles, situa un grup de personatges improbables o poc reconeixibles per al públic en un entorn també especial. En aquest cas, en aquest espectacle que es diu Le Sommet, que Le Sommet vol dir el cim o la cimera, en l'àmbit polític també es pot traduir com la cimera, eh, situa un grup de personatges que parlen diferents llengües en una mena de refugi de muntanya. El públic no sabem ben bé on estan i què estan fent, quin és l'objectiu de la trobada, i a partir d'aquí, a partir d'aquest punt de partida, hem de veure si aquests personatges s'entendran, parlen idiomes diferents, i haurem una mica de descobrir quin és l'objectiu de que aquests personatges estiguin aquí. Per explicar una mica més, tenim dues persones que ho explicaran des de punts de vista diferents. Una és la Giulia Rumasuglia, que és la ajudant de direcció de l'espectacle, que està treballant al costat de Mark Thaler, i el Graham Valentine, que des del 1997 ha treballat amb moltíssims espectacles de Mark Thaler, és una de les cares, jo crec, que més reconeixibles de molts espectacles de Mark Thaler. I començarem amb la Júlia, que ens explica una mica, ella que ha compartit el procés de treball, que és aquest Le Sommet que veurem aquest divendres i dissabte al canal a Temporada Alta.
Yes. Hello. Thank you very much for this introduction. So yes, maybe just to add to the beautiful presentation of the show, we can say also the summit was is the result of a co-production between three theaters, but also three countries, which is like France with la MC93 in Bobigny, Switzerland with the Théâtre de Vidi in Lausanne, and the Piccolo Teatro in Milano. And that's also like where we rehearsed. We really rehearsed in those three different countries. We had the premiere in Milano, and the six interpreters also come from different countries. So there's really the show, the principle or the starting point of the show is really also this mix or this variety of languages, of nationalities. In the show, you will hear French, German, Austrian, English, and Italian. And yes, I think this is something that is very particular with this play here. It's going to be subtitled in Catalan, and we're very happy, looking forward to seeing that. And yes, I mean, like Narcís said, the starting point of the show, because those three countries, France, Switzerland, and Italy, what unites them is also the Alps. And I think that was also why the idea was to put it like in a sort of mountain context with the scenography of Duri Bischoff, who made this little hut cabin whatever that kind of now travels from city to city, from country to country, and we're very excited to bring this cabin now to Temporada Alta. Yes, I think that's I can say. talk as well.
Well, we're not very far from the Pyrenees here, I suppose. So you know all about mountains as well.
Jo volia preguntar una mica més que ens expliquin què hi fan o quina és la situació d'aquests personatges de diferents països que parlen diferents llengües. Quina és la situació, com a mínim el punt de partida? Jo crec que en els espectacles de Marthaler no hi ha, moltes vegades és un recorregut, no hi ha un final, potser no hi ha un objectiu definit del que han de fer, però sí una mica que ens expliquessin què fan aquests personatges perduts perduts o tancats en aquest refugi de muntanya.
Well, we start by just arriving, and nobody is supposed to know who the other people are. And I suppose we pretend not to be fazed by this unusual meeting, but we just turn up by means of a lift, which is coming down at the bottom. I don't know where it starts, but somewhere halfway up the mountain or somewhere at the bottom of the mountain, like in the olden days in Hitler's place in the Bavarian Alps, where there was also a lift where you could have access to the Führer bunker. But instead of a bunker, we have this small chalet, and nobody knows if we're trying to control anything or if things are happening to us or what our role in life could possibly be. Some of us are more equipped than others. One person arrives kitted out with a shoulder bag, well, not really a shoulder bag, a rucksack with all sorts of accessories attached to it. Other people just turn up. One person has a walking stick. One or two people have nothing at all. And during the course of the performance, you would imagine that we get to know each other better, but that is one of the questions which the audience must answer for themselves. We don't have a goal, although it may look as if we do. You're entirely free to make up your own mind.
That's also the ambiguity word summit, right? It's like the summit. So once you're at the summit, you have nowhere else to go. And
well, you have the possibility of flying away. If a helicopter lets a rope down, you might hang on to the hook at the end of it, but nobody's brave enough to do that.
And yes, also, like Narcís mentioned it, like the show plays with the ambiguity of the word, the summit. So of course it's a summit of a mountain, but also can be a political summit. And so in the show you see different situations. It evolves from this more maybe a mountain, like chalet situation, to also a more gala political summit situation. To something else. So there's really like a travel unfolding in the same place.
And there are several possibilities. When a helicopter hovers overhead, which may or may not allow us to make further discoveries or even escape. And later on in the performance, you get the impression that we're beginning to get used to the idea that nobody's going to get away from this place. But who knows? It's like in all of Marthaler's productions, there's never any kind of definite line. He leaves the audience lots of freedom to make up their own mind.
Mm-hmm. And there's also a mirror between like text and music and silence. I guess that's also, there's like sort of a partition, a score, let's say, of those different mediums, like, yes. And
yeah, well, I wasn't sure whether I had the right to be there because as a native Brit, we went through Brexit, and do we have the right to be European to call ourselves such a thing anymore? But luckily, living in Switzerland, I was allowed to take part. But there are lots of questions like that. And then the music is provided by us singing, but also by a harmonica player who uses a harmonica which comes from the, is it the Styrian Alps in Austria?
Yes.
Anyway, and also one that comes from Vienna. So there's a kind of alpine input on the musical side, but also other pieces.
Jo convido a la premsa a ajuntar-se en aquesta conversa en el moment que vulguin. La Paula ja ens avisarà quan hi hagi alguna pregunta. Justament ara estaves parlant del tema, en Graham ha citat el tema pertany o no pertany a la Unió Europea. S'ha escrit bastant sobre aquest espectacle.
Well, I belong to it in my head because I've always been European. I studied abroad when I was young. I've lived abroad in various countries for extended periods of time. And I look on myself as a European, not particularly as a Brit. And anyway, I'm Scottish. So we have a special relationship with Europe anyway, which has nothing to do with our southern neighbors.
Sí, de fet, el que estava dient és una mica que s'ha escrit sobre aquesta obra, he llegit en crítiques, en entrevistes, una mica si podia ser una al·legoria d'Europa, de la situació europea, un grup de gent que parlen idiomes diferents, que es troben en una cimera. Sí que ens ressona molt a situacions que veiem a les notícies sobre les trobades de polítics europeus. Era un dels punts de partida de l'espectacle?
Do you know, Giulia?
Well, I think yes. Because just the word the summit, right? I think it was clear from the beginning that Christoph Martaler and his dramaturge Malte Ubenhoff wanted to put that on display, to show, of course, it can be politicians, but it's as always ambiguous enough. Maybe just like very powerful people, maybe just VIPs. I mean, we will not hear, for example, political discourse like words. It's all left to imagination of the spectator, also to know exactly who are the people, what are they saying. Yes, but it was definitely very present. Also, like when we were rehearsing, it was the moment where, I don't know, in Germany, there were a lot of cuts in culture. And it was very present, this thought that, okay, politicians now are maybe less interested in culture, in sustaining, in supporting culture. So it was all in this kind of universe of thoughts that we created the play.
And I think another aspect from the point of view of the texts which are used, they also reflect the abysmal depths of nothingness which politicians are in the habit of using when they're trying to get their views, if they have any, across. So there's
yes,
a use of language which is in the Martaler tradition of being on the verge of nonsensical or difficult to understand, difficult to follow, but also amusing in a certain way, in a grotesque way, like when you're watching Donald Trump talking.
Gràcies. He vist que ja hi ha alguna pregunta, però voldria fer un altre, almenys un darrer comentari abans que entri la premsa. Els que hem seguit una mica la trajectòria de Martaler ja sempre hem anat reconeguent cares dels actors que s'han anat repetint, o diguem que Martel ha treballat amb una certa fidelitat a uns actors que anaven participant en molts espectacles. Crec que aquest és un espectacle, no sé si per les característiques de la producció que ens ha explicat la Giulia a l'inici, on es mantenen alguns dels actors històrics, en Graham és un exemple claríssim, però que hi ha com més renovació, hi ha noves cares, hi ha nous actors que no havien treballat mai amb en Christophe encara, i volia saber una mica com ha afectat això a la creació de l'espectacle, si ha sigut un procés diferent a altres processos de creació d'en Martale.
Well, there have always been new people who have joined various productions, but the atmosphere which Christophe and people who've worked with him before manage to create makes a kind of welcoming atmosphere for people, and the sense of relaxation with which the rehearsals are carried out and approached is also very encouraging for people to offer what they have themselves in the sense of artistic capacity, creativity. So it's not a daunting or a challenging prospect to start rehearsing with him, I think, because everyone is made to feel of equal worth and of equal value and equally able to provide a contribution.
In this show particularly, the two actors who are new are Rika Fracassi, who comes from Italy, and Lucas Metzenbauer, who's the musician, who is a friend of Graham as well, and all the others, Charlotte, Raphael, Liliana, of course, Graham have already worked with Christophe before.
Moltes gràcies. Donem pas a la premsa. Em sembla que havien arribat algunes preguntes. Paula?
Sí, hi ha 3 preguntes, de moment. La Núria Joanico, de l'Ara, pregunta, no sé si poden explicar una mica més qui són els personatges que es troben a la cabana.
Over to you, Giulia.
In work, in the rehearsing part, like with Christophe or Malte, the dramaturg, never speak about actors. I think it's a quality of this book also to give a lot of freedom to the actors, be with who they are, and these are people who are put in certain situations. And so I think actually if you try to follow one character from the beginning of the play to the end, you can be also a bit surprised, like this person is going to do different things that are unexpected. It's a bit like the show, it's not like only rational and logical, everything. So
Yeah, no
it's more...
one comes with a fixed character. The character develops itself according to the interaction with the other people who are there, and they probably surprise themselves. So it's difficult to say that such and such a series of elements, 6 characters are coming together and they all have defined characteristics from the beginning, because they don't. It's a process of discovery for the audience.
What they have is specific texts, of course, in different languages. These are mostly texts that are taken from different authors. We have maybe 10 different authors. There's also original compositions from Malte, Ubenauf. Yes, but that's what I guess the actors work with. It's, as Graham said, it's the group that is like at the center. It's the situation and the dynamics in the group more than the individual characters.
And we change costume 3 times. And this provides us with a completely new aspect of personality.
Mm-hmm.
The first scene is a kind of welcoming scene where we stay in the costumes we have, and then suddenly we are in a sauna, and then we are, after that, we're in a kind of party mood, a gala situation. And then at the end, new costumes are delivered to us. And each time when we put them on, we're in a new situation, which is defined also by what we're now wearing. So that's a kind of superficial definition, which is added to the brew, the stew, life in the stews.
Paula?
Sí, perdona, un segon. La Marta Cervera del periòdico pregunta l'Essomet té diverses lectures, no? Per una banda vol dir pic, però també es diu així les trobades de gent poderosa. Què em poden dir al respecte d'aquest tema?
Well, come and see the show and you'll see the tip of a mountain sticking out of the stage for a start. But we don't have a meeting in the sense of getting together and everybody putting a particular point of view and discussing things until we come to a conclusion. It's not about that. But it's a kind of parody of that situation, underlined by the play on words, as it were. There's a kind of a visual pun where there's an actual tip of a mountain sticking out in the middle of the stage. But we're not there to solve any problems, although we might come on some solution by chance by looking under the rock. But we're very careful to keep away from the rock, not to touch it, because we treat it with respect, as is due to a summit. It has to be treated with respect.
Yeah, the summit is really, the top of the mountain is really in the middle of the stage, but it's not so much taken in account until the very end of the play by the people on stage. But it's there. So, yeah, I guess it's a sort of a presence that looms the show. And it's still like one more thing that's given to the spectator to interpret as they want.
And there are extra additional considerations to do with the different languages, because in Italian, vertice, when you hear that as an English-speaking person, you think of vertigo, which is like something you get where you're dizzy when you're in a height and you're scared of falling, which is not particularly present in the word summit. In English, when you talk about summit, it's like a final decision is going to be made. And in German, when you say Gipfel, it can also mean a crescent roll. So there's the bakery element comes into it too. We're not trying to sell them, though.
La Marta Cervera del periòdico també pregunta quin tipus de preguntes planteja l'obra.
Why did you come to watch this? That's something that the audience has to answer.
I guess it's a lot also about, there are situations that are given, right? Like I was saying, these people arrive through a lift in this chalet, and they go through different situations that we might recognize or not, or the sauna later, or the gala later. But because coaching is treated also with a bit of absurdity, unexpected things happen, and it allows us to look at those known situations in de manière décalée, in a different way. And that's actually what the show does, more than asking questions, is maybe opening the meaning of situations that we know in which a group of humans gather. And I guess also, because we're speaking so much about language, it's the question of what is needed to understand each other. Is it words? Is it music? Is it silence? Is it something completely different? Those people understand each other or not? I think that's a question until the end as well. Can they come together even though they are all so different?
Yeah, and the use of language can manifest itself in various ways. For instance, when we're in the sauna, the character that I'm playing has a heart attack, and his only means of communication is through a series of grunts and groans and spluttering. But this manages to connect with one of the other people who are there, and eventually the guy ends up feeling much better. Mm. So there's been a kind of primitive use of language to establish this new healthy state, or at least to keep death at a distance. Mm-hmm. So language isn't everything, the kind of language that we know from reading books and talking to each other. Grunting can be helpful.
Paula?
Tenim una pregunta més d'en Magicamps de La Vanguardia que diu: cada personatge representa un país en concret i si això és així, quins són aquests països?
No, I don't think so, because that would give unfair advantages to various places. Like Italy has 2 women representing it, if you look at it like that. There's somebody from an ex-European country known as the UK or Scotland, somebody from Switzerland, somebody from France. Have I exhausted the... So no, I don't think we're not representing any country in that sense. So it's not a political undertaking in any way.
Moltes gràcies, Paula. Queda alguna pregunta?
No, no tenim cap més pregunta.
Doncs moltes gràcies a tots per ser aquí. Moltes gràcies, Graham. Moltes gràcies, Giulia. Ens veiem al cap de setmana al canal, a Temporada Alta.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you in the audience. We'll wave to you if we recognize you.
Thank you so much.
Gràcies.
Bye.